Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the stream. Welcome, Jamie, David, Santiago, J-Trade, Raphael, AJ, and Hunter. Thank you guys so much for joining. So we made a couple adjustments to the audio today, so, let us know if you have any feedback. I know yesterday we had some weird echo, so hopefully we fix that. Just let us know. But we have AJ right off the bat saying, have been on a bad streak lately, but I bought several shares of SPRT before close yesterday, and I am just overjoyed. So I bet this stock is exploding. They have a giant short squeeze going on, and it was at $50 this morning. I was very surprised. So that's awesome to see. Huge congratulations, AJ. I'm very happy to hear this for you. But Tom, what are you thinking with this one?
Yeah, it's up over 100% on those shares right now, as long as, it was whenever it was up above $40 just a couple minutes ago. But, man, it's starting to still look pretty good. I would think that maybe today at open we could get another nice run to the upside. But, wow, what a move. All the way up to 55.67. It has my mind blown this morning. And, I've been hearing a lot about short squeezes lately. It seems like they're kind of getting back into the market here. And SPRT is definitely a good candidate for it. I know people were talking about it a ton over the past 5 trading days, and you can see how SPRT's chart was looking so solid the past 5 days, just huge green candles to the upside. So I'm glad everybody came into this and kind of squeezed it to the upside. It looks really nice, and I love how this pre-market movement really went up. I mean, man, 100%, you can't ask for anything better.
You know it. And then, Tom, I want to take a look at the SPY real quick. I know it's up a little bit in pre-market. To be exact, it's up 0.2%. You could say 0.25%. And here's the thing. I don't know if you see this, but do you see these lower highs being formed today in pre-market, relative to, yesterday's opening area?
Yeah, definitely. And it seems like there's a big resistance there around 448 too. And it seems like we hit almost right off of that as we went down in pre-market. And I definitely see what you're saying, because yesterday, right at open, we had that big tank to the downside. Then we came back up, retested 448, and then went down. And I see in pre-market yesterday, we even bounced off 448 before falling below it later on. And I could definitely see that for today. That's going to be a pretty big resistance. And if you look at the SPY here, sometimes whenever you get huge moves to the downside, kind of like we saw yesterday, you just see little recoveries overnight and stuff like that. But definitely look for more downwards movement at open today, because it definitely was not pointing in the right direction.
For sure. So I'm just curious to see this opening on SPRT. It's down a large amount from its highs in pre-market of 55. Right now it's at 35, but it's still up 80% relative to yesterday. So it just goes to show you the power of a short squeeze. And I know some people banked on this thing. In the profits channel, Not saw, it looks like he made almost 50 grand on this thing. So that's crazy. I'm looking at some of the options, they're up 200%. But here's the problem, when this stock was at $50 in pre-market, the highest strike call is only 30, and put obviously, but there's not even enough strikes, Tom.
Yeah, I know. That's a big problem. The chain, I should say, is really messed up on this one. SPRT is just looking really crazy, to be honest. Yeah, you're right. It's at $33 now, but I'm not seeing any strikes going past $39 on the October expiration. That's pretty crazy to see.
Yep, so let's see. And then we have Kiwi asking about AMD. So let's take a look. AMD, it's looking pretty good at open. It's up 1.5%. Lots of buyers coming in. A little bit of resistance right around 109 and 109. I guess you could say 110. So yeah, it's popping up. Looks good, at least right now. It's not my favorite stock in the world for a swing trade. It's all right for a day trade, but honestly, it's not my favorite stock.
Yeah, be really careful of that resistance at 109 to 110. That's going to be pretty big, especially up there at 110. I think that's going to be the main resistance. So I'd be really careful with it today. And, it could go up a little bit more, and you might be able to catch a quick scalp or something. But I think generally, it's kind of already up a little bit today. This is quite a bit for an opening candle. So really watch out for more volatility. A lot of times if we get a pop like this at open, you might see it pull back through the day, or anything like that can happen. So always have that in your heads. And AMD's not looking bad on the daily though, Mike. The green candles are coming in, and it's kind of holding its ground pretty nicely up here. I know a lot of people were looking at it to go back down to that $100 psychological level.
For sure. And then, guys, don't forget that we have that Jackson Hole event today. It's actually like in less than half an hour. Powell is set to take the center stage at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So that's like about a half an hour from now. Definitely keep that on your radar. It's a very important event. The whole asset purchasing deal and the tapering situation is very important for the market and a lot of investors and just the economy overall. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And then we have David saying, please review the following and if they are good candidates for Leap. So we got a lot of plays here, Tom. We have CHPT, Corsair, DBX, DraftKings, Neo, Mara, Riot, and VALE. So out of those ones, I like DraftKings for Leaps. Neo's not bad for Leaps. I like Corsair for Leaps. And for like a risky play, I like CHPT for Leaps. But it is risky.
Yeah, I do like those too. I think CHPT could be a good, like, riskier one. With that one, I would definitely look more of like for leaps, like Mike said. As far as just like regular swings, though, I don't think some of those are too bad. But I'm with you, Mike. I think some of my favorites are like DraftKings, CHPT, and ones like that. But keep in mind, they could go down in the short term. We've been seeing DraftKings and CHPT post like 2 red days in a row now. So maybe after that great week we had, we'll just have like a few consolidation days or just a few days like where we just don't have that upwards movement. We might just go a little flat.
Alrighty. And then we have a lot of people joining. Alex, Vicky, Maine, thank you guys so much for joining. Then we have AJ saying, how do you guys feel about eBay? So let's take a look. EBAY. It's down a little bit today. It's very close to its highs, though. We have a pretty big resistance right at like $76.50. It looks like we might retest that today. If it breaks above that level, it could be a pretty solid play for a breakout to the upside. Just generally speaking, they have a lot of momentum, especially to the upside. So just watch for that breakout. But if it doesn't break out, it could also be a double top play, and you can play it to the downside.
Yeah, because it looks like it's kind of hitting like that $76 area and just failing to move up. So we'll have to see what ends up going on with it today. But I'm with you. If it breaks out, that could be a nice play for eBay. And I know eBay's been running up pretty nicely lately, so maybe they can break out. But I would almost lean more towards they might end up falling. But it just depends on what we end up seeing happen, and just end up, just wait for the market and end up playing it off of that. You don't have to like enter it or, be like too fast or anything like that. Just wait for it to make that confirmation.
All right, we have a ton of people talking about SPRT, Tom. We have AJ talking about it. Spacely is pumped up with SPRT. We have Raphael celebrating SPRT, locked in 11,000 profit. There we go. So lots to talk about it. I think it's halted too.
Yeah, it is halted, actually. That's a pretty crazy thing to see. I guess it's halted because of its downward movement or because of the volume. I wonder which one it was, but definitely not looking good right now. Had a lot of downwards movement since open, and hopefully it can stop here and go back up, because I'm sure a lot of these guys are still holding the stock, and I'd really like to see it go up. It would just be a fun scenario today. There is support kind of coming up around $30 even, so maybe we'll bounce there. Maybe we'll also be able to bounce somewhere around 32 to 33. Seems like there is some decent supports coming up, so maybe we'll get a bounce, but who knows? This was a really crazy setup, and you don't see this stuff happen too often, and I'm going to be really curious to see how this one ends up playing, and I'm going to be really watching $30.
Alrighty. And then we have Vicky saying Fubo resistance and support for a day trade. So I'm seeing a support right at like 26. I see a little bit of resistance right at $26.75. After that, there's a little bit of resistance at 27, but I would say 26.75 is the main one to watch. Tom, do you have like any other levels?
Yeah, I would say those are the main levels for it. As far as like intraday, 26 is definitely going to be like the better support level for it today. You could say like 26.20, but that's just on a very like technical like intraday level. As far as resistance, I'm actually seeing some right up here around 26.70. So if we could get like a good break above that, I feel like we could pull up towards $27 or even like 27.15. So I think it's not terrible with Fubo, but just the way that they've been moving on the daily hasn't been the best. It almost reminds me of a play like NIO or, like just one of those like growth stocks that have been going up over the past like 2 to 3 trading days, but then now they're just having that slight little pullback. So it just reminds me of like that whole growth sector. So I think it just depends on what that whole sector does. But in the end, I do like Fubo, and it's like right at support. So that's a good sign. But at the same time, I mean, it's looking pretty scary in the short term.
All right, and then we have W asking about Tesla. So Tesla, it's trying to run up, but it's definitely struggling a little bit. If you look at a couple other tech stocks like Apple, Microsoft, like they're actually falling off, and they're like what seems to be actually leading the market. Like we had the SPY popping up a little bit, but when we have a stock like Apple tanking off to the downside, that's not a good sign, and that might be foreshadowing just what can happen to the overall market. Because, if Apple's, I don't want to say crashing, because they're definitely not crashing, but, if they're tanking off, it's going to have a pretty big influence on the rest of the market.
Yeah, and we've like almost quadruple topped up here around like 151 to 152. It's just definitely not looking good. And it looks like we're just turning off to the downside on the daily too. Like look at these 3 red candles in a row. Just looks really bad right now. So be really careful with Apple. I think that the whole tech sector is definitely in a bit of a they're going to be in a bit of a problem, a bit of a problematic like area, and there's just going to be a lot of selling pressure, I think, over the next few weeks. Like we were just at all-time highs, and I think that that's just going to drive a lot of people to de-risk themselves, especially with everything going on. Like I would really expect like the end of this week and into next week that some of these big investors will start to really see what's going on and maybe start to hop out. And I'm sure that there's already people doing that. I saw obviously like when the SPY and the market tanked down yesterday off that Afghanistan news, that was obviously, I think, in my opinion, the start of kind of people de-risking.
Yeah, I think it's been going on for a little bit now, like especially with Apple. Like this one's been struggling a lot over the past like month or so. It's just been literally just trading flat. And I think part of it is, people exiting Apple and rotating into other plays, but part of it's also de-risking. And, like you mentioned, Tom, already, like looking at the SPY, like I think like yesterday especially, we saw a lot of people de-risk themselves, one, ahead of the Jackson Hole event, but two, with everything going on in Afghanistan. And I don't know if I was talking with you off stream, Tom, or if we mentioned this on the stream yesterday, but there's this, I have to get the exact statistic, but every time the market doubles from like a low, which, the market did double from a low, from the COVID low, there normally is a decent sized pullback. And so that's just another thing. It's just, I don't know. I'm not, honestly, I'm just not feeling extremely bullish in the market right now. And I kind of have like a bearish to neutral stance.
Yeah, me too, actually. I'm with you. People look at these like measurements in the market like this, and some of these statistics are actually pretty good. Like whenever you look at ones like Mike just pointed out, like look at this low. Whenever COVID happened, we were at the lows around 220, 219. We hit highs of 440. So obviously that did double by just around over $10. We went $10 more. So good news for that. But either way, I mean, it seems like we're definitely going to be coming down. It looks really overextended, and I'm not saying we're going to have a crash like we did with COVID, but man, I would think that something big could happen. Like, for example, I think the SPY has a good chance to maybe come down to around 400, or maybe that support around like 405 maybe.
Gotcha. All right, so SPRT is now back in trading. It's bouncing around. They were initially halted on a circuit breaker to the downside. And let's see what's going on, Tom. It's just all over the place. The implied volatility is 300%.
Yeah, this is getting insane, and it's still selling off though. Unfortunately, it's almost down to $30 now, and I was hoping to maybe see some more upwards movement, but look at that implied volatility today too. Just, I mean, really flying up to 290%. I mean, man, this is at the end of the day yesterday, it looks like it hit that peak up there. Yeah, that's crazy to see. I know those call options must have been nuts today. I know that a lot of people were grabbing shares of this one, hoping it would squeeze like this, but now it's almost back down to like these pre-market opening levels. So I don't know like what's gonna happen. Do you think that we'll bounce off the 30 support? Like personally, I think that we might, but $30 seems like it might be a pretty good level here today. It's so hard to say with this one. It just has so much up and down movement, and this is definitely like such a rare event that it's hard to say like what's gonna go on.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Tom, we have Palantir breaking out. This is good. Plus 2.5% so far. Just broke above the $25.50 resistance. Looking good.
Yeah, looking pretty good. It's not up above those resistances though of a couple days ago, but I'm so glad to see it moving like this. And man, hopefully we can keep moving because I'd love to see it get up to $26 and even higher today. And I feel like it might because we're on like just the end of this little range. I feel like we've been sitting here for a couple weeks now, and I feel like that we're going to be breaking out at some point. And I would hope it's right now on this move to the upside.
All right, then we have Alex saying, would VIX call with strike September 10th be a good play? So I'm not sure what strike you're looking for. He said the September 10th expiration. Honestly, I would say no. It could pop, but I think it would be a very smart investment to get more time. He said September 10th expiration. There's only 2 weeks left in that option. Like, the theta on that's going to be brutal. Like, you're almost always better off getting more time. Like, even if you have an option that's like a little bit further out of the money, and like let's say you at least go to like the October expiration, most of the time that'll definitely be worth that extra investment. And then we have, let's see, AJ saying good call on Apple, guys. It's tanking hard. So yeah, I saw that. It's kind of leading the way to the downside, but it's not crashing, at least right now. But it's definitely, in my opinion, foreshadowing something with the market. We have Maine saying thoughts on Penn and DraftKings today. So Penn's still looking good, Tom. Like, it's not going down without a fight. Like, it's testing that high again, which looks good. If they break above this resistance around like $82.35, that can be good for a breakout. Just one thing to keep in mind is, let's say this Jackson Hole event goes bad and the market's tanking. Like, even if Penn is breaking out, generally you don't want to fight against like the overall trends in the market. So if like the overall market's tanking, I would not play Penn to the upside, and that goes for any stock. And DraftKings is kind of rebounding, Tom, right off that 58 support.
Yeah, that's good news to see it rebounding because yesterday was definitely a big pullback for DraftKings, and I hope that we can get up and finally break $60.37 on them. But I'm really going to be eyeing up Penn. They're like really close to that upper level you talked about at 82.34, Mike, and I think that could be a great breakout if we move up above that. And whenever DraftKings and Penn were going up, Penn was having a little bit better of days than DraftKings was. Like, Penn was up 8% on days, and DraftKings was generally up like 6%. So it was looking like they were just outgrowing them a little bit more, and it could end up being a pretty good play today if it breaks out. And the reason I'm bringing it up a little more is just that they're like right at that top where DraftKings is a little bit lower.
For sure. And we have Maine saying ASTR really wants to run. So I see that it's actually retesting that resistance right around $12 or so, and it's definitely trying. It's not looking bad at all.
Yeah, it's really going to try, I think, today, and it's going to have that launch coming up later on. I don't know the exact time it comes out today, or what time they're like what the exact time is, like 1 p.m. or I don't know the exact time, but I'll have to look that up. But ASTR is definitely looking pretty good. I know that these stocks love to run, and the momentum loves to come in whenever these type of events come out, like launches or anything like that. They're working with the Space Force, and it just seems like there's some really good catalysts going on with them. So if they break $12, I would definitely eye them up. And heading into the launch, it might be risky to hold through it, but it might be worth it if they end up flying on it, because it'll probably be like an after-hours move or something like that. So just keep in mind, it's going to be pretty risky, but it might be worth the play. If you're someone out there who loves space stocks, it might not be a bad time to grab some shares.
I just cannot believe that IV on SPRT, like, it was at 300% like a couple minutes ago, and like that was crazy, but now it's up to 350%. Like, these options are just so expensive.
Yeah, it went up even higher. I cannot believe that IV jump. Like, that's crazy. Right after these it happened like right after that halt too, and man, it's just not looking good right now. I know lots of people are going to be in and out of this one, so yeah, you're right. That IV is just going to keep going up probably, especially if it keeps having this weird up and down movement like this. Like, man, look at these volumes coming in on the 1 minute. Like, I'm sure that there's as much volume on this in 1 minute as there's been on tons of stocks on the daily. Like, wow. Yeah, there's like some 1 minute candles here with like a million volume in them. That's pretty good. And especially for like for a smaller stock like SPRT, that is.
Yeah, and it's halted again. I don't know if you saw that, but
yeah, halted actually back to the upside here as it kind of bounced right back up. And man, this stock is so like well priced right now, being low. I should say like low priced. Like, that if it starts moving, like, man, we might get a big jump up to 50, halt again, and then a big gap down to 40. Like, I could see this one playing out pretty crazy today, to be honest.
All right, then we have M asking about SPY calls. So personally, I don't think that's a good idea. I have like a bearish stance in the market right now, neutral to bearish stance. Now here's the thing. Historically speaking, SPY calls work very well, so I guess I guess it technically would be a smart idea if you were just like looking back throughout history. Just given the current events, I don't think SPY calls are a good play to make, but always trust your gut, and keep in mind that we do have this Jackson Hole event in like 15 minutes, so that can definitely boost the market up for you, or it could also make it tank. But either way, always trust your gut. And then we have Maine saying GM is rebounding too. So I saw that they're up like almost 2% today, and they're actually holding their ground pretty well.
Yeah, they are actually rebounding very nicely after that huge drop it opened from the other day. Hopefully they can come back up and retest $50. I think that would be the best thing to see with General Motors. Hopefully them and Ford can kind of get up. They both have really been kind of tanking off here on their daily charts respectively, and I'm glad that they're both popping back today. And I think it's a decent time to like average in the shares on both of them, but personally, I don't think I'd be grabbing shares right now. Some companies that I like a little bit better for the future, as far as like car companies go right now that are low anyways, might be NIO around the $40 support. I think that one might be a little bit better. Now, keep in mind they are China, so that could cause a little bit of an issue. But I really like some of these other stocks like LCID and like WKHS possibly. They're kind of low for like their respective highs, and I feel like that they could end up recovering pretty nicely over the next few years, even if they do end up going down in the next couple months.
All right. I'm just looking through a couple different things right now to see what's moving. Looks like, give me 1 second. Looks like we're seeing like a lot of movement coming right out of Palantir. I know they're a slower mover, but they are breaking out, which is good to see while the market's kind of shaky overall.
Yeah, Palantir is doing actually really good, which is kind of crazy. And that daily on Palantir looks really solid. Like, you can see how much they've been consolidating, sitting here in this range. It's been here for a long time actually, and I feel like it's been waiting for too long, and like we're gonna finally get that nice move out to the upside. And even if it doesn't happen in the next like 5 minutes, I feel like it might happen like maybe on Monday or something like that over the next couple days. I think it'll definitely have some good movement. And Palantir's just been like one of those big stocks. Everybody's watching it, and I know lots of people were buying it up on the dips.
All right, what are you thinking of Apple right now?
Man, to be honest, it's not looking good to me on the daily. It really scares me. Now, intraday, anything can happen, I guess, but to me, it's not looking good. It's below a lot of these technicals. It's selling off below all these SMAs too. Not a good sign right now. Like, really generally, like whenever stocks are going up, you'll see it seriously popping up above all these SMAs, and it'll look pretty good. It might come down, retest a couple, but it'll just end up popping right back up. But in this case, it's going up, touching them, then flying down. So that's a terrible sign, and we're below all of them right now. So I could see it starting to really go down, and we're also like below that 150 support too. Like, we failed to break out above that at the beginning of the week this week, and just not looking good at all for Apple or for like some other tech stocks. I wonder how Microsoft's looking. Yeah, they're looking terrible too. Like, just both of these, which are powerhouses, are just tanking down, and they're both at key levels too. Like, Microsoft just fell below the $300 support, and then Apple here ended up bouncing right off of that 150 resistance. So looking pretty bad here for both of them.
Gotcha. So like, do you think that Apple and Microsoft falling will have an impact on, just like the market overall? Because I know that the SPY itself is kind of uptrending today. Do you think that with, some like these powerhouse stocks kind of falling off, do you think that's going to like limit the growth of, SPY's potential run up?
Yeah, I mean, SPY could end up being pretty good for that, but I mean, it's hard to say if that could be like the main reason for it right now. I mean, do you really think that the catalyst could play like that quickly into this? Like, I would think that it would take a few more minutes.
Well, no, what I'm saying is like, we know that Apple and Microsoft are like huge companies, right? And what I'm thinking is, even though we have the SPY kind of running up right now, I feel like it's going to be harder to see like a true like breakout like we have seen in the past, given like Apple and Microsoft kind of like tanking off.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that'll definitely be a pretty big impact on the SPY here. And the SPY did end up bouncing off of like 448 yesterday, so we're honestly right around there. Like maybe we'll end up hitting at 448 here today and starting to tank off, because you're right. Like Apple, Microsoft, and those stocks are so key for the market, especially for these bigger indices, that you would think that it would really affect the market to the downside. Like I can't believe that we're seeing the SPY green today, to be honest, after the past couple days of what we've been seeing. But I guess it's just all these other like little stocks going up, Mike. Like we have Exxon up, crude oil up, Netflix, DraftKings, Caterpillar, AMD. I guess it's just those smaller stocks that are up, like 0.5% and stuff like that, that are kind of holding it up. But man, I'm with you. Like I would think that with the main tech stocks selling off that we would end up going down, but the SPY on the 1 minute here just keeps going up for some reason.
Yeah, so it looks like Nvidia's having a pretty good day. Google's not having a bad day. So, those are powerhouse stocks as well. And then I was just looking at like the visualization of the S&P, and it looks like there's actually a lot of green coming out of the energy sector today. So like Exxon Mobil, OXY, stuff like that.
Yeah, wow. Actually, look at these gaps up like on Exxon. I was not expecting to see stuff like that, but they do say that news like in Afghanistan, I know Afghanistan's not in the Middle East. I actually got corrected. If anyone didn't know this, Afghanistan's like in the northern part of Africa. Or I mean, sorry, now I'm really messing up. I think they're in like the western part of Asia or something. It's considered like an Asian country. So it's actually not even considered, like Middle Eastern, but it is kind of like in that area. So if I have said Middle East over the past few days, I do stand corrected. But CVX has been moving up. Generally, whenever news comes out of like Afghanistan or the Middle East, we generally see oil and these stocks go up. So I'm not too surprised to see it happening here, Mike. But at the same time, though, I wasn't expecting it to kind of drag the market up. And I'm more of like with you, I'm kind of surprised to see like that the SPY isn't kind of falling off a little bit more, or I'm just not surprised to at least see it like staying flat or something with all these tech stocks.
All right, and then we have James saying, good morning, resistance levels on OXY and Exxon Mobil. So with OXY, we have a little bit of resistance around 25.50. After that, there is a stronger level right around like 26. And then on Exxon Mobil, we have a pretty big resistance right around 56. If it breaks above that, 57. So hopefully that helps that. We have G saying, will Jackson Hole affect India? So I'm sure it will in some way, but it's mainly going to affect the U.S. Like I said, there can be like some like ripple effects that affects India. Like it's really just an effect like the the U.S. economy in the most significant way, I guess you can say, and of course affect everyone else around the world. Kieran's asking about Nvidia. I saw that it was popping up, which is good to see, but it just, in my opinion, looks like on its last legs, especially like given the current catalyst we have in the market. It can definitely continue to run up, but I don't think it's worth that risk. So always trust your own gut, but that's that. Corbin said, how about Workhorse? I have calls from yesterday. I'm thinking about cutting them if they're a bad play. The $9.50 calls for September 10th. So you have a good strike, but that expiration, it's rough. 9/10, it's only 14 days left. I don't know. I really don't like these short-term expirations. The theta is going to be brutal. Like, here, let me just like put something into perspective real quick. So if we look at your exact option, no matter what happens, at least as of right now, and theta values always change, but no matter what, you lose $2 every day just because of theta decay. So no matter what, you're losing $2 every single day on like it looks like to be like a $90 option or so. So like that kind of sucks. You're losing more than 2% every day, assuming the stock's just flat. And if it's down, you'll lose even more, and if it's up, you'll make some. But I just really think you should get more time. It's really worth the extra investment in like almost all scenarios.
Yeah, and looking on my chart, I actually have September 10th right over here. And one thing I want to point out as well is like, if I just give you a quick visualization here on the chart, like if we're looking at Workhorse and you had the September 10th, okay, let's say Workhorse right now is at 950. Let's say they start falling down and they retest 875, okay, your option is going to get destroyed because we're so close to expiration. And now, as it's consolidating down here, you're just going to be losing value and value and value because you're not anywhere near, to your strike price at all. So you'll just be losing money. And then, like, let's say it's just it falls and then stays flat down here till like September 3rd or September 7th. And then you get a nice pop up to like $10 or something. You could still end up being down because of how much you lost during that downwards movement. So that could also be a bad scenario there.
Exactly. I think that's a great point. Definitely a good job, Tom, for pointing that out. Looks like we have some movement out of BABA today. It looks like they're still tanking off, down almost 4%, and they're actually breaking their low in pre-market.
Man, that was a pretty bad gap that they had. That was terrible. Look at that sell-off they had all day yesterday. Even in after hours, it continued to go down. And then that gap down today, pretty awful. I know people have really been eyeing them up for shares, looking to get back in them for the long term. But, man, it looks like they're going to be going down and maybe hitting that 150 support again. I know they got really close the other day and kind of bounced back up. But now we're heading right back down. Not a good sign at all for BABA. And, I feel bad because every time it gets a nice pop up, I feel like everybody starts hopping back in and then it just starts capping down a couple days later. So really hard to trade right now. Personally, if I were you, I would just wait a few months, I think, on BABA and then just like revisit it once all this stuff is over, because honestly, this China news and stuff is just getting so insane that personally to me, I wouldn't play it right now. But I don't know about you, Mike. I know you might find some pretty good value, like selling some puts on it or something. I know you could probably go like right now with the downwards movement, probably all the way down to like 125 or even lower.
Yeah, true that. We have AJ saying, Mike and Tom, are you guys bearish on the markets after the Powell speaks at the Jackson Hole event? So, I have like a bearish to like neutral bias. I'm more towards bearish than I am neutral. However, understand that, statistically speaking, most of the time, whether it's an FOMC conference, a Jackson Hole event, or, any major thing, like any Fed thing, statistically speaking, the market does rise a lot more than it falls. So keep that in mind. But to answer your question, yes, I am, slightly bearish.
Yeah, me too. I would say I'm slightly bearish as well. And they're going to really talk about like tapering the stimulus packages and like tapering their spending programs right now that are kind of boosting up the market. So that could be a big deal. And Mike, look at this. The SPY on the 1 minute actually just had a huge red candle come in. So maybe this will be like the start of this downwards movement. And I wonder if this is happening. Yeah, it happened right at 9 a.m., which is at least 9 a.m. Central, which is supposed to be the start of this of the event, right?
Yep, for sure. So we actually have Vicky saying BABA and large Chinese caps will be forbidden to trade in the U.S. And this is coming from the Chinese government today. So that's pretty crazy. That's a horrible sign for all these Chinese stocks. Shout out to Vicky for getting that news for us. Maine is asking about hood puts. Let's take a look. HOOD. It's not really moving right now, but if the market tanks off, it's definitely a possibility. IV is relatively low, so it's not bad.
Mike, we got some big news coming across right now. Powell says that he sees a taper by the end of the year, but says that there's much ground to cover before we even talk about rate hikes. So it looks like they're not even going to be they're not going to be looking at raising rates or anything anytime soon. But he does say that they're going to be seeing them tapering these purchasing programs by the end of the year. And look at this, the SPY is going crazy right now. That red candle actually turned green, and we're actually going up now. So it looks like maybe Powell's going to be helping the market to rise. But in the end here, this is pretty big news that he's signaling that the central bank will begin tapering before the end of the year. I know that they were really expected to talk about this a lot today. And just keep looking out for news, guys. I'm sure we'll see more and more stuff come out, but that's amazing stuff. And I don't know if it's good or bad necessarily for the market that the interest rates aren't raising yet. It's so far it looks like pretty good, I would say, but right now for some reason the market's really liking these low rates, and I've seen it in the past where the market's risen on rates going up and it's fallen on rates going up. But hey, I'm glad the rates are low and I'm glad the market's going up at least. But it does kind of put a damper on any VIX positions anyone had.
Yeah, so it looks like, so look at what, Tom, we're 2 minutes into the event and the market's all over the place. So looks like we are breaking to the upside right now. So very, very interesting. Let's see. Tapering will be very, very slow, Vicky said. So yeah, that is a good sign for the market. Very bullish, It sucks because, I have a slight bearish stance, but, that's how it is. Let's see.
Yeah, I know. Me too. My VIX calls are definitely getting hit hard right now, and we'll have to see what ends up going on. Like, anything can happen though over the weekend, guys. Like, just because the market's ripping up off this news right now doesn't mean that like Afghanistan won't have something crazy go on, or we won't do anything crazy over the weekend, or who knows, like anything could go on. But definitely keep your eye on it. This is a big rip to the upside. The SPY actually might touch all-time highs here over the next few minutes. Look at these 1 minute candles. This is getting absolutely insane, Mike. Like, man, this is ever since we passed 448 on this move up, it's just been straight up. So start to watch out. We might get more up and down movement, but man, this is starting to look really, really volatile, and just be careful. I think it's going to be hard to trade this right now. And like I said, though, I feel bad because, man, VXX is going to start tanking now.
Yeah, probably. I mean, we're in for a lot of volatility, but yeah, I mean, the market's booming up. Congratulations to everyone who's in, SPY calls or anything like that. It's looking good so far, but like you said, lots of things can happen over the weekend. Maine brought up Apple. Let's take a look at Apple. That had a crazy recovery, Tom, from that support right at 147 right after that event started.
Yeah, it did. That recovery back is awesome. It's already almost back up to like its opening price, or it's actually just above that, which is amazing to see. And I'm glad that I'm glad that Apple's up. It's been a really tough day for them, and we've been really looking at a lot of these stocks to the downside. So I'm a little upset that it didn't continue its sell-off there like it should have. But too bad this event had to come in and kind of damper that. But in the end, though, it's great to see it coming back, and for the overall market, it's definitely a good sign.
Good stuff. How's Palantir? I'm trying. Oh, wow, they're booming, Tom.
Yeah, this news might make stocks start really flying up. Like Palantir's flying up. I wonder how DraftKings is looking. DraftKings is starting to catch some green too. Like, wow, this is sending a lot of these stocks up, and I'm glad to see it. Palantir broke their high of day up to 25.80 right now. Great news. And look at them on the daily. Like, man, they've just been coiling and coiling. I could really see them maybe coming up and retesting like 27.50. or 27 at least over the next day or two. I think that could be a pretty safe play, honestly.
All right. I mean, it's looking really good. It's a great day for Palantir long-term holders. It's up 4%, and I know we're holding a leap on Palantir, so I might, if we do see a breakout, I might turn this thing into a spread and get that weekly income going, selling those further out-of-the-money calls and keep that premium every single week.
Yeah, and there's that big resistance at like 27 to 27.50. So like, yeah, maybe something like the 28 strike, maybe something even if you could get like the 30 strike or above, that would be amazing if they'd offer good premiums on it.
Alrighty, how's SPRT doing? I know a lot of people were watching this one.
Yeah, it's not doing the best, but hey, it is recovering up from some of those bad moves it was having towards open. So that's good at least to see it recovering up from that, but it's really failing to kind of break out above that resistance at $43. Really watch for that. If we break up above 43, I think we could see some more big moves with SPRT. But personally, it doesn't look too good to me right now. I think it looks more like it might ended up going back down to the downside. Now, this was an awesome move it had, and it really squeezed up early there in pre-market. So congrats to everybody who was able to, catch it and exit their shares in pre-market. That would have been a really good time to sell. But right now, I would say it's like in the middle of the range. It's hard for me to say with this one. I would think the short squeeze would continue, but at the same time, it might be over with all these other catalysts going on.
Alrighty. So yeah, I'm just trying to see what's moving right now. AMD's popping up a little bit. Palantir's the main one. Also looking at Upwork. They're having a nice day. DraftKings is trying to break out. RCL's not doing bad. Penn is getting pretty close to that level of like 82.30 for a potential breakout.
Yeah, it actually is. Look at that. It was getting closer to there. It opened, came back down. Now it's like getting back up there to retest again. I would say if it breaks 82.34, definitely look at this one for a day trade. I might set a little alert on this one, but looks really solid. And I would think that we could get a pretty good move up to like $84. Not a huge move, but a pretty decent move.
Alrighty. Let's see. We have Jorge asking about MMAT. So, Tom, I know that you've been watching this one, and it's looking great.
Yeah, I actually grabbed a couple of these longer term leaps down here really cheap, around $3 whenever it was down, and it's been kind of popping up the past like couple weeks, and it's been looking pretty decent. It's been moving up. I don't know if all these stocks like squeezing up like AMC or if what was the one squeezing today, Mike?
SPRT.
Yeah, SPRTsupport.com. If it wasn't, if it, I don't know if it's just like all this news with the squeezes making MMAT fly or what's going on, but in the end, they're having some great moves, and today's been great for them. They've been really ripping up. They're almost breaking that high of a couple days ago, and they just have a lot of momentum coming in too. This one, yeah, looks really solid. Good eye, Mike. And I haven't really been checking my positions too much besides the VIX right now, but just eyeing up MMAT, it's looking really solid. And man, over the next few weeks, we might be able to go up and retest this resistance around $5 maybe.
Good stuff. And then, Tom, we have Vicky asking about CRM for a day trade. So we need some levels.
Yeah, I actually like CRM. As far as a day trade goes, just looking at them on the daily so far, looks pretty hard to trade. There's definitely resistance around like 270 to 272 from over here in the past. But, we did break above that yesterday, which is a good sign. But as far as short-term trading, look for 265 as a support. That looks like a pretty solid level. And then as that upper resistance, definitely watch for 270. I think that's going to be the level to look for. If we can break up above 270, Vicky, I would think maybe some quick calls could be the way to go. If we end up breaking down below 265, then maybe look at some puts. But as of right now, to me, it's kind of like in the middle of its range. And I would almost maybe expect it to hit 270 and then maybe go back down. But just watch out, because if the overall market keeps ripping, CRM might break that to the upside.
Good stuff, Tom. And then we have, let's see, N saying, what are your thoughts on Uber? So they're probably going to be a good long-term hold, and they're at a decent level right now. I mean, they're not my favorite setup in the world. I like Corsair, PENN, DraftKings, RCL, Boeing, a lot more than Uber, but it's not bad at all. And I think it's a decent time to sell some puts. And if you want to play it risky, maybe get some leaps.
Yeah, I think that might be the only way to go, but I'm with you. These other ones are a little bit better, like Boeing and some other stocks. And it's just the main thing is just risk. I think that Boeing and some of these other ones are just going to be a little safer in the long term.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And honestly, I feel Uber, right now it's at 40, and if it goes back to its highs around 60, that's around a 50% potential gain. And then looking at Boeing, I don't think they have potential for a 50% gain in the same time frame as Uber. However, I do feel it's more likely that they'll continue up. And I feel even though if they can't get up 50%, I think they could at least get maybe up 20 to 30.
Yeah, for sure. And I like what you brought up with Uber's support at 40. That's definitely not a bad time to buy in shares if you like this company for the long term. And one thing that, yeah, this is actually some pretty good news here that I'm seeing on this daily chart. Look at the earnings for Uber here. They were honestly negative for the longest time, just about ever since they IPO'd, I believe. I'm on the Max Daily. Ever since they IPO'd, their earnings have been negative. I can't see this one. Yeah, all of them have been negative. So I'm really glad to see them starting to get to positive, and with them bouncing at this 40 support, I'll be honest, yeah, I might take back my words here, Mike. That might be a pretty good play to the upside. I mean, it's not terrible. I just think that there's some other stocks that are safer, like Boeing and, obviously like Apple and Netflix and stuff like that is going to be a little bit safer. But, man, Uber might have some pretty good potential here.
All right, and then we have AJ saying, Tom and Mike, can you tell me how DraftKings looks for a day trade? So I think it looks pretty good right now. It's up 2.5%. They have a big resistance level at $60.37. It's been the high for the past couple of days, and it's been struggling to break above that. There is a little bit of support at 59, but it's trending in the right direction. Tom, what insight do you have for us?
Yeah, I would say look for a nice move up to 59 or I mean up to 60 or 61. I think that could be a decent move here for DraftKings. It's moving up as we talk. It keeps moving up like another 10 cents every like 10 seconds. So hard to say, but I would say just try to play quick scalps on it. It's going to be definitely a stock you have to play a little bit quicker if you're going to day trade it rather than like holding it. It could have a lot of up and down movement, but I would expect it to come up and retest this high around 60.37. I don't really expect it to break out of there or anything like that. We could see a move like that, but it's already up 2.8%, and I just wouldn't expect it to have like a big like 7% or anything like that.
Gotcha. I mean, the SPY is booming, Tom. Holy crap. It is booming right now. It's up like 0.7%, and it looks like we might break all-time highs in a couple minutes.
Yeah, we are really, really close. I mean, we should be to all-time highs in the next like few seconds, to be honest. We just need to hit 449.46. We're only about 10 cents away. So looking pretty good. Hopefully the SPY can keep going because, whenever it rips, I'd rather it keep ripping than, have like a fake out or anything like that. So hopefully it continues up and just stays on this solid direction. Doesn't look bad. And I think it's creating a lot of good day trading opportunities today out of some of these stocks. Like for example, Apple really recovered itself back up today, but even these stocks that were already running, like Palantir, it's just keeping the momentum up. Like with the SPY up, people are just really confident in these stocks right now. Like Palantir's flying. We have AMD flying too, like you pointed out earlier. AMD actually just broke 110 a couple minutes ago.
Wow, let's see. Hunter says Moderna's falling. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, they were actually leading my watch list to the downside, and man, down 4.8%, looking terrible.
Wow, not good. Then we have Jorge saying CRWD liking it above 280 after the Nasdaq 100 inclusion. Earnings next week. So that's big. I just know that statistically speaking, with like S&P 500 inclusions, normally a stock falls afterwards. So I don't know. Like I would have to do like the back testing to see how Nasdaq inclusions work. But earnings are big, and I mean they're looking pretty good. There's a lot of momentum.
Yeah, there definitely is, and hopefully it keeps going for you. CrowdStrike is doing pretty good. Like Mike said, those earnings are going to definitely, I would say, make it go haywire, but definitely be careful for the next few days. It's going to be a pretty good stock to watch, and it's really starting to break out of that daily chart.
Alrighty, let's see. How's Boeing looking right now, Tom? To me, it looks like they're making higher lows, and they look to be at a pretty good level for like a dip buy.
Yeah, are you talking about on like an intraday level, like for like a swing for the next few days, or for like the longer term?
I'm talking about like a longer term.
Okay, yeah, it's definitely a good time to get it. I think for the long term, around 220, looks pretty solid, and even like intraday, it doesn't look too bad. It's starting to really turn back up. There's a pretty good double top here around 219.40. So if it breaks that, I think you could see a pretty good move. And look at the way it kind of double topped at this same level yesterday intraday. Kind of weird to see it. That's kind of weird, Mike, that to see those two double tops, the same exact like little formation like that. That's kind of strange, but look for them to break out above like 219.50. I think if we break that, we could get a good move back up with Boeing today, but I'm with Mike, for the longer term, I think it's at a great level. Look at this like long-term trend line in bright blue on my chart. It's actually sitting right along that right now. If it breaks that to the downside, it could be bad news, but for the longer term, I think it's a solid hold right here.
I'm most excited for Palantir right now. I love this momentum. They've just been consolidating for the past couple days, and I love to see breakouts like this.
Me too. Look at the 1 minute, still breaking out. Actually, it was sitting there at like 250 or 25.80, and it just broke that to the upside again on the 1 minute. I'm glad it broke that after consolidating. Looks pretty good, and I'm wondering how high these guys can get today. Let me kind of look at the 90-day 15-minute. I mean, there is still this resistance coming up here, like right around like 25, like 95 or like $26. But if we break that, I mean, it could be a serious breakout, guys. Like, look at some of these days. Like, Palantir's just been consolidating for the past few weeks here. And if we finally move out of here, like, I would expect some big movement to happen.
All right. I mean, Tom, this SPY is like booming. I know I said it like a couple minutes ago, but it looks like we just broke we broke all-time highs.
Yep, all-time highs, 449.50 with the SPY. I wonder if we'll be able to break 450 today. I think we might. Like, this is crazy. I cannot believe what we're seeing, and I guess the Jackson Hole really turned it around. I was thinking with Afghanistan and all this other news going on that Jackson Hole might not actually affect it too much. But man, Powell really made the market fly up. That's a weird thing to see, and I guess it's going up because if they're going to be tapering, if they're talking about tapering the asset purchasing programs by the end of this year, Powell kept saying that we're not going to start tapering or we're not going to raise rates until the economy's, back to normal and until we see jobs numbers heading in the right direction and stuff. So I wonder if that shows that we're kind of getting back to like our regular economy finally after the past couple of years. And, I know the market's been going to all-time highs, but like these jobs numbers and stuff, they just have not been where the Fed's been wanting to see them. And I wonder if it's getting a little bit better now.
True that. And then we have James saying, Mike and Tom, any ideas for GE? So it is looking pretty good. They're up like 1.5%. They're like, let me take a look. They had that reverse split, which is normally a bad sign. Their long-term chart is just brutal. They're holding support at like 100. There's like a little bit there's a decent amount of resistance right at like 108. So I know it's really not my favorite play. Like the max chart looks brutal.
Yeah, and this company was getting destroyed a few years ago. I know a lot of new traders probably weren't around for that, but man, General Electric was a big stock like in 2017, 2016, and then as soon as like they had some bad news come out and they started like dissolving some of their programs and parts of their company and stuff like that to try to help with their balance sheet because it was just awful for them. Like their earnings were getting terrible, and man, they were just tanking off. I remember they were all the way down to. I know that the stock split, but before the split, it was at around like $5 a share, or, something super low down there like that, and it was not looking good at all. And it's hard for me to invest in this one. A lot of people have said that they've kind of turned themselves around and that for the next few years they might end up going up, but it's just hard to do, like they really tanked off there for that short-term time, and it was just a really bad sign.
Huge shout out, Corbin. Thank you so much for the super chat. He said, what an exciting day. Thank you, guys. So thank you so much, Corbin. You're always joining the streams and always super positive. And I know that you're always learning and asking great questions. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for the super chat. Huge shout out, Corbin. And then we have Vicky saying the Fed is not increasing rates until the end of 2022. So that's a good sign, and the market clearly likes what the Fed is doing right now. Then we have Ironical saying, interesting, gold moves with stocks and oil. So yeah, gold moves in an interesting way. Like over the past year, I think the correlation between gold and the S&P is around negative 0.22. So sometimes it moves with it, sometimes it doesn't. It just really depends on the situation. We have Vicky saying, hit the like button, people. Yeah, guys, if you like the stream, definitely hit that like button. It really helped us out, and we have a great time streaming. So thank you guys so much for all of the support. Then we have AJ saying, thoughts on Peloton. Peloton is, well, it was getting destroyed, but now it's kind of bouncing up. Tom, what are you thinking with it?
Yeah, it's hard to say for me. After these earnings went on the other day, for me, it's kind of hard to kind of pick a direction with Peloton, but I would lean more towards like grabbing shares right now. They've been dropping. They're down towards that $100 area, and I would think shares could be good, but with the way that they've been going up and down so much, it's so hard to say right now. I would say that there's some better setups out there in the market personally, but it's not terrible though. Like if you like the company, and I don't think that they're going to go anywhere. Like I think that they'll be around, but if they do end up breaking down below, like let's just say like $95, we might see them fall all the way down to like 80 or something. Like it's definitely a big mover. Like they're pretty volatile. You can see the past year they went from 17 up to 170, 1,000% move, and then back down. So like it can be pretty crazy with Peloton.
All right, and then we have Maine saying Tesla looks good too. Pretty much everything is booming to the upside right now off of that Jackson Hole news. We have Hunter saying Zoom is really choppy intraday. It would be hard to pick a direction right now. And then Vicky was asking about Zoom for a day trade. So looking at Zoom, it really has been pretty choppy. I know it got upgraded yesterday by Morgan Stanley. Tom, what are you thinking with this one?
Really hard to say right now. I would say it looks like it's been going up ever since the summit started. So I would lean more towards the upside with the upgrade and everything, but whenever I look at the daily, it just looks like it wants to sell off. So it's really hard. There's definitely a lot of mixed opinions with Zoom, Peloton, and a couple of these other stocks that were doing really well during COVID. And it's so hard to say. I would say with earnings coming up, I would just stay away right now.
Alrighty, so AMD is booming, Palantir is booming, DraftKings is booming. Good stuff. So, Tom, do you have any last minute stocks, options, or anything you're watching for the rest of the day?
Man, I'm definitely still eyeing up the SPY, hitting all-time highs. Crazy to see. Let's go look at the Dow Jones Futures here. Looks like the futures are about to hit all-time highs on the Dow, so that could be great news as well. I know it's been a few days since we've been at all-time highs there, and I'm just really liking the rip up. Hopefully that this can help a lot of stocks keep going up, like AMD, Palantir. I want to see this trend continue for a few days. I don't just want to see like a big move up and then, an explosion happened in Afghanistan and then the market tanked down or something. So always have that in the back of your head. Even though the market's going up, lots of other news going on right now. Definitely lots of stuff. So definitely just be really, really careful, guys. It's just a really hard time. I'm definitely bullish on the market now too with this stuff happening. But like I said, if something weird happens in Afghanistan, it could definitely throw a wrench into everything. And I will say, be really careful with these Chinese stocks. I'd really recommend staying away from these for the next couple weeks, a couple months, unless you're looking at like selling puts or something. That would be about the only thing I look to do with these.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining, and huge shout out Corbin for the super chat. We had a crazy week in the market. Lots of movement to the upside and the downside. Lots of big news. With the last comment, we have Corbin saying Palantir doesn't want to break 26 till next week. I'll take it. As long as it breaks. It's looking pretty good though, and that's the main thing. I love the way it's moving, and it's awesome. I think it's actually. Let me test something real quick. So yeah, it's in the 80th percentile of all of its moves right now, which is good to see. It's trending in the right direction. But thank you guys so much for joining the stream. We had a great time, and have an amazing weekend.